Welcome to Let's Write This Movie, where we write a screenplay
while sharing the process with the internet.
I am your screenwriter, René Garcia.
And I'm your collaborator, Brian Glass.
Now, let's write this movie. Yeah, wow. Are you prepared, Brian, for the big one?
Wow, I am, dude.
Yeah, this is the big one.
Marathon.
I did think using also sprockets on through was maybe a little cliche, but, you know, I think it works for this.
Yeah, that. Good to see you, buddy.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Something different about you or where you're at right now. It's so similar.
But different.
But a little different. Something's a little bit different.
I feel like I'm putting on a little weight under the chin. Was getting my haircut today. And that's how I gauge my weight loss, is by looking at myself in the mirror while the lady cuts my hair. And if I, you know, the cape, the reverse cape they give you to protect your expensive clothes from getting hair splinters, it like really pushes out my fat, right? And so if I can get this, if I can be happy with the way I look, even with the little like man bib I have on, then I can say, all right, your starvation plan is working, Renee, right? But today it just feels like a little excessive. So I think it's time for plastic surgery, Brian.
Hey, man, maybe we can do a BOGO on that.
Yeah?
I'm in.
You think they have that offer?
Why not?
Why not?
Maybe not in the USA, but I'm sure we can do a little traveling together.
Absolutely.
Take this show on the road.
Plastic surgery tourism. I think I've heard of that.
Really?
No.
If not, that's our next enterprise.
Absolutely.
We'll shuttle you there. You may not need to come back. You'll come back one way or another.
Exactly.
We'll either get you back or we will provide a casket.
Yeah. Or, you know, your organs will make it back and be sold again in the secondary market.
Where is this conversation going, man? Wow, we're already off the rails.
I don't know, bro.
Wow.
I'm just delaying the onerous task of going over 1 million pages.
Yeah, it's quite an undertaking we have here ahead of us. Did you have a chance to look at what I sent you?
Only the first couple of pages, because I wanted to see if it was going to display properly in the setup and all of that, right? And then to see how your notes showed up. But that's about it.
Okay, it should be okay. But like I said, the first few pages, the font's a little different, and then when you get to like page, God, what is it? Probably like 20 or so.
Okay, let me see here. Page 20 or so.
I'm looking here. It's still the same. All right, so okay, here we go. Like page 30. You'll see it shrinks quite a bit because I changed what I was working off of.
What happened, Brian?
I told you, man. I had a lot of technical issues. This was not a fun review process.
Well, yeah, it was probably just bad timing. We should have planned this a little better so you could print it out and, you know, just like hand write your notes like you are wont to do.
What are you gonna do, man?
And maybe we should have probably broken this up into several weeks worth of material rather than, what time is it? 2 a.m? Oh, okay, we're almost done. We're almost done. Come on.
I gotta go work.
Exactly.
Keep it rolling.
Yeah, my computer will have run out of hard drive space.
Awesome. Well, should we just get into it then?
We might as well, Brian.
Because it's going to be a while. So what I thought I'd do is spend a few minutes talking about just my general notes.
Okay.
Kind of like my prepared notes before we get into these pieces. Because to me, a lot of the things here are kind of minimal, you know, like little things just to fix. But I'm not really too concerned about most of this stuff. So Yeah, maybe let me set the stage a little bit and go through my prepared stuff with you. So,
Let's do it.
Because I do know from your past scripts, I know people have given you notes, and I've read kind of what they do in the past. So this is going to be a little bit more substantial than before. So I'm going to go off of my notes here, all right?
Yeah.
So, okay. So first off, this is concerning the flow. One thing that you raised as a concern when we did this show was whether or not the script would be kind of artificially broken up as a result of our weekly page reviews. And in fact, we're only looking at 5 or 10 pages each time. I will say that I was pleasantly surprised when I read through it, how well it flowed.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was a result of kind of you going back several times and massaging. I know you did that at least 2 or 3 times, or the fact that you went through at the end and polished it all to get us down to 120. But overall, I was very pleased with the flow. I thought it was really nice and clean and smooth throughout. Okay. So that was really cool.
Should I interject or do you want to just go through all of your thoughts?
No, by all means.
So, as I did give it another like quick read through, and while the steps through the story are fine, I'm still leery of the minute count of when things happen minute wise into the movie as someone is watching it.
Yeah.
I'm still concerned about that, but then again, who knows how it's actually going to play out when it's filmed. So there we are.
I mean, the interesting thing is you start with a set piece, and I think that really helps set the pace of the movie very nicely, because it kind of grabs you, and it sets the tone for the movie to some extent.
Yeah.
And that it's going to be action-y, thrilling, but it's also going to have a sense of humor, and it's going to have a little bit of attitude. We don't know anything about the zombie portion of it yet, but I think that you've established the tone really well. And, one of the things I have down here is I was very surprised that the action kicked off a lot earlier than I recalled. Not just the train scene, but just overall, it felt like it was really moving.
Yeah.
So I was pretty energized when I read through this all the way through. I was like, it felt kind of kinetic. Not what I expected, because again, it was so broken up.
Right.
And I never went back and reread
Sure. Yeah, of
from
course.
from one. So even like the flashbacks didn't break the momentum. So I don't know if you're maybe being a little hard on yourself there, but I felt like it actually has a really nice build up.
Okay.
Throughout. So I was pleasantly surprised, because I thought that'd be one of the biggest problems because of the way we did the show.
Yeah. So
I'm very happy with, the fact that we did the show like this, because I really don't know how else we could pull something like this off other than to go linearly through this script.
Right. So one thing you did bring up is it possibly because I had to excise some fat?
Yeah.
I think, yes. I think there were, and unfortunately, just to explain why we were talking about my apartment, I was in the middle of a move this last, we'll say 2 weeks, and really wasn't, my mind really wasn't, there was no mind share devoted to this project, let's say. Mind share, Brian.
No, dude.
Yes, mind share.
No.
What's wrong with mind share?
Too corporate-y.
All right. I didn't have any headspace devoted. How's that? Headspace? Is that good? Headspace devoted to the project. Anyway. So
that's great. I'm glad you didn't, by the way.
Well, I guess.
Seriously, it's good to give yourself a little bit of a break from it all.
Well, the thing is, I wanted to kind of highlight. I wanted to write a post and put the final script up, blah, blah, blah. I didn't get around to any of that.
I know.
But I did want to point out, like, we'll say the major changes. Mm-hmm. And, removing those unnecessary scenes, I think it really helped speed up the movie. Like, I mean, I can't, unfortunately, I'm blanking on some of the major stuff. Well, okay, one thing that comes to mind is the exchange between Sam and Long when Long is in jail. And Sam is kind of taunting him, explaining like, you know, hey, do I get your brother's cut? I don't know why my mic is so sensitive right now. I'm just like in the red. Now I'm not. Anyway.
It sounds a little loud on your end.
Sounds a little loud.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you, Brian. Now it's looking fine.
Yeah.
Let's troubleshoot live. This is what people want to see, right? Here, let me lower the gain.
This is how people engineer audio.
Yeah, they just turn a knob, and that fixes everything. Is that better? Hello, hi, hello, mic check. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Just kidding.
Yeah, right. Anyway, okay. So, you know, I took out that scene.
Yeah.
And that scene was unnecessary. And when I think of like, well, why did I write it in the first place then? You know, I spent time like working on this exchange, and then I spent time with you working it out and like how it could evolve and be a little tighter, only to like just remove it entirely because it's unnecessary, right? And I think, you know, a lot of those things just kept popping up throughout. Maybe not as substantial as that, but you know, just little lines of dialogue that I thought gave the character. I thought they were necessary because it gave the character some color.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I still feel like the character of the characters comes through. And maybe that's because I'm so close to this and we've been working on this together for 6 months and I just know them.
Right.
I still hope they come through when the film is made, if the film is made. So there we are, Brian.
Okay. I actually have some thoughts on characters. I can get to that now if you want. I'll skip ahead to that.
No, please. You had a plan. You had a process. I don't want to mess that up.
Doesn't matter. It's this. I have them segmented. So overall, I actually agree with you. I thought that the characters were well defined, interesting. I enjoyed both. What I'm going to call both heroes, even though they're not really both heroes. Everett and Long. I felt Long is certainly the true hero of the story because it's really about him. But I felt like Everett was like a close second.
Yeah.
You know. So by that, I mean, I wanted Long to win in the end, just because I like him better. Yeah. That may just be personal taste. You know, I kind of tend to like those sarcastic, you know, smart ass know-it-alls. But I didn't want Everett to lose or to die. So from the standpoint that I was sad to see him go at the end, but the way he went, you know, and the tenacity of his character and the fact that nothing, not even death, was going to stop him from hunting along.
Right.
I felt that, like, you know, that's like, you know, if he's going to die, that's the way to die. You know what I mean? For a character I kind of like, you know, he's a cool guy.
Yeah. Maybe
he pontificates a bit much for my taste, but that's who he is. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, all right. I felt like some of the supporting characters are interesting, not necessarily well defined.
Right.
I know that's because you have a lot of different characters in your story, and some of them are more, as you would say, they're more archetypes than real characters, and I think that's fine. But I did feel like...
Let me just jump in here. I will say that as much as I looked for a place to kind of reinforce and reestablish Chief's debt,
yeah,
to like really make that, you know, his sacrifice like really pop. Not just pop in the sense of, wow, that was an amazing feat he just did, but have it be have it emotionally pop for the audience.
Right.
I couldn't find a place to insert a whole like exchange of dialogue to make that work.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking, I know we're kind of jumping ahead here, but it's on my mind right now and I'll forget if we don't talk about it. I was thinking maybe earlier in the script when Long, because I added some dialogue about Long, you know, when Zeke is talking to Chief about, you know, we're setting up the whole Chief is like, he owes a debt and all of that. Yep. And Long's like, what's that about? Right. And Zeke kind of explains a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe Zeke could go a little further and say like, you know, he actually doesn't have to work it off. He can leave anytime he wants, but, you know, something about his you know, he's too loyal or something to that effect to skip out on a debt. Like he feels there's something innate about Chief that he knows he owes someone something, and he's gonna make good on that debt rather than just like leave town or whatever.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. I'll give you the alternative take to that.
All right.
If I'm a director, I'm thinking I want Chief just to look cool. He's going to be just a badass, when he's going after zombies, and he's going to be a badass when he goes after the team. And that's all I really care about with him. So I know you're trying to imbue him with more. I'm okay with him not, just because he is such a tertiary character.
Yeah, I get it. All I'm saying is, as long as it doesn't take too much effort, if it doesn't like rearrange the script drastically,
yeah,
why not just have a little bit of dialogue that gives the actor something to hang on to.
Yeah, I think that's cool.
Do you hear me, Brian?
I hear you. Yeah, but I mean, now I'm taking the alternative view.
Yeah,
that I was taking a few weeks ago, and that is now it's like space is very precious.
Oh yeah, no, I'm with you.
Yeah. Well, okay. Now at least I'm on board with that concept, because we're at that point. And especially because I haven't given you my note that I think is something that needs a little touch.
All right.
So, okay. So what I was saying with those secondary characters, I thought Sam and Sally both came through really well as kind of those secondary cool characters.
Yeah.
Interesting characters.
Yeah.
And also, of course, I loved the dichotomy between Tom and Everett. Although it's very hard for me to get my head around Tom right now.
I know,
but I'm gonna get there. Right. Tom and Everett.
So for everybody else, I did change Stan to Tom, because here's the thing: Stan is kind of like an unexpected name, and I don't want people to get hung up on Stan as like an Old West name. Whereas Tom, of course, Tom's existed throughout time in America. So that is just a regular, easy name for people to accept. And because we have a Tom, I had to change Tommy. Tommy's no longer Tommy. He's now Eli. And that's a Brian suggestion. Brian actually suggested that name for Stan.
Right.
But Eli just sounds it doesn't sound strong enough of a name.
Yeah.
It sounds kind of wimpy. Like I could see Patrick being changed to an Eli, right? So if I'm going to have a wimpy name, give that to the kid. And that saves me 2 letters.
I know.
Characters. Every time I reference him. So I'm like, that is awesome. And I save 1 letter for Stan. It's like, yes!
Win-win.
And I changed Jebediah. I changed him to Jeb.
Right.
That saved me so much. I'm like, oh, yes. Next script, they're all just going to have initials.
That's right.
Hey, AJ. How you doing, AJ? B. What's up, B?
I always feel like Tom is kind of a nondescript name. It just doesn't mean anything to me. Tom. It's like, it can go either way.
All right.
And I kind of like that for him, for the character.
Yeah,
because Everett, that's not a name you hear all the time, and people are going to remember that one,
Yes.
And it's like you just from the names you kind of side with Everett over Tom.
Yeah, exactly.
Tom. Sorry for any Toms watching right now, but come on, get it together, man.
Yeah.
Go by Thomas or something.
I used to do that joke with Yanni. Yanni the musician?
Of course.
Oh, do you like Yanni, Brian?
No.
Okay, well, I don't know. I had a friend
love Yanni.
I had a friend in high school who really likes Yanni. Yep. And I would always make this joke with her about Yanni. Anyway.
Was she live at the Acropolis? That's what I want to know. Live at the Acropolis. Acropolis. I can say that word. Do you know that reference?
No, I don't. What is that?
That's like that's the album everyone loved.
Oh.
Yanni, live at the Acropolis.
Right. Here's the thing. I've never listened to Yanni, and I have a feeling I might dig it, especially now in my older age. No? Are you sure? You don't know.
Yeah. I've listened to it.
Well, your taste and my taste differ sometimes, right?
I had hair before I listened to it. Then I pulled it
off. Oh, God.
All right. So some of the characters I didn't care too much about.
Yeah.
Like Mortimer, Maggie, sorry, Ray and Chief. I didn't really care. I just wanted, Ray to be, cool, supportive guy, and Chief to be badass,
Yeah.
And I don't think that drawing out their characterizations are going to make the story any better personally. So it's funny that you mentioned that, because I actually have that as a note. However, I think there's an opportunity to make the character of Zeke a little bit more defined.
Okay.
Other than how he acts in the flashback, and there's a little humor that he has at one point. I don't really know too much about him. I don't remember too much about him. For some reason, he wasn't really coming through as super defined, and I want to know him a little bit better, because he's one of our last people to go. It's a meaningful way that he goes with Sally.
Yeah.
I have some notes about it in the script as we go through that as well. But I just want to care about him a little bit more, rather than, he feels kind of like Sally's sidekick, which is fine. I just like to know a little bit more about him.
All right.
So that's one note of possible improvement. But, and I wrote this in the script as well. Maybe just more some bitch would be good.
Okay.
Because you can never have too much some bitch.
Of course. Absolutely.
All right. So I also feel like there's an opportunity to fine tune the dialect spoken by some of the characters.
Okay.
It feels like there are some dialogue inconsistencies in terms of how much of the Old West kind of permeates the speech.
Yeah.
So like in some cases, we've got Sam early on where he's really digging in, with some of those sayings,
right,
that I'm not familiar with. And I even ask you in the script, like, is that an actual saying or just something you made up?
Right. Yeah.
Sounds real, but it felt like it was there and then it kind of went away and maybe came back a little bit for certain characters. But I don't know if they're inconsistent because of their different stations in life or something, or education, which isn't really explored. But I think that you might want to just take a dialogue pass through and make sure that you feel like it's, you're getting enough of that Old West dialect in there.
Yeah, sure. So, the dialogue was not unconscious. When Everett, Everett, he's a little more educated, a little higher station in life. And so I tried to differentiate his speech from Stan. Stan will refer, he's a little more colloquial, a little more familiar with the townsfolk. He'll say,
who's Stan?
Oh, whatever. Stan, Tom, whatever. They sound close enough, right? Stan, Tom.
Sure.
Got T's in their names. So Tom has, he constantly says like them boys, and just kind of like has that more uneducated or less educated. He speaks in that kind of less educated vernacular. And I tried to, when Everett tries to relate, when he softens up a little bit and tries to relate more to people, that's when I have him, speaking that way, having the wrong,
purposefully.
Well, I was trying to define the part of speech that he's changing. The article, he changes to
them,
like a pronoun, right? Just this misuse of grammar.
Yeah.
While I did want to have initially Sam just be this guy with like a ton of weird sayings that are kind of funny. Jesus, what's going on with my microphone, bro? So loud. Let me just take it down to nothing. Hello? Can you still hear me? Hello?
That's too quiet.
You sure?
Yeah. It only got loud when you started, getting louder. You started talking loud.
Hello.
Hi.
It's
me. Hey.
Hello. Hello. Can you hear me? Okay. Anyway. Well, the best produced show on the internet, everybody, which is why we have the largest audience. Okay. What was I saying?
You're talking about Sam and all his sayings.
Okay, yeah. So I wanted to have...
Yes, Sam.
Yeah. I wanted to have, Sam have those sayings throughout, but, there wasn't always an opportunity to throw that in.
Right.
And then, with the page count looming, it was difficult to make that decision and say, do I want to, just to have him have this dialogue that is, at the end of the day, will be forgotten 5 seconds after he says it.
Mm-hmm.
Is that really worth pushing, into the next page? I don't know. I don't know, man. I mean, maybe you're right. Maybe I do need to tone down what he says in the beginning.
I actually like what he says in the beginning.
Well, no, I get it, but as you say, it's inconsistent, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe, you know, there's something he can say when he's threatening to kill or torture Patrick. Maybe I can throw in something there that would kind of bring it back. Might be enough.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, I think just a pass, just a straight dialogue pass for you would be probably worth it. All right. Not reading any of the action, just looking at it strictly from that vantage point would be maybe helpful. It's not huge. This is just, I'm giving you the small things. There are only two like major notes I have for the whole script.
Okay.
Okay. Right. So here's the first one. So in terms of let's call them monsters right now, because we've got the two different classes.
Right.
There's a point in the script, and I think it's like halfway through or so, when we've got like the three primary types of them.
Yeah.
And they're very clearly defined for the reader. I think it's where each of them has like an action paragraph.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know what I'm talking about?
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah, it's when they all break out.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. From that point, it was like so like crystal clear as to who they are and whatnot. But I felt like before that, it was very difficult to grasp when their powers or how their powers actually manifest. And I was just trying to look through virgin eyes a little bit in terms of reading the script.
Yeah.
Not knowing what I know, and just trying to think, am I totally understanding what's happening here, or is there a clear delineation between infected and undead? And I got a little lost in trying to figure that out. So I don't know exactly how to fix that, other than to say I don't think a lot of the characters necessarily talk about that. They talk about how to kill them.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit about that, but maybe, I mean, I'm guessing you purposefully didn't want them talking about it because this is how you wanted the movie to go, but it might be helpful for them to understand, and certainly for the reader to understand just a little bit more earlier what's going on. I don't have an easy fix for this one. It's just a general confusion that I had until that point where I was like, oh, got it. I think it's super clear now.
So I don't know how much earlier I can have an explanation, because right before that, trying to go back. So right before that, they have the hanging of the bandit leader. And that's when people start coming back from the dead. Right after that. Well, no, that's incorrect. What happens is that people start getting sick. Like, I do explain the prospectors. I have a little scene with the prospectors, right? To show the spitter, that they are the origins of the spitters. The old man, Bushy, he's the one who chases Sarah and Jimmy now, to show that he's a headbanger, even though he's not referred to as a headbanger yet. We don't really have a scene with the Yoo-Hoos killing anybody or transforming necessarily, except for when, the girl comes inside from all the dust spilling everywhere, and she's lit up, and she kind of like looks like a predator now in the dim hallway. Right. What's going on over there, Brian?
Sorry, bud. Go for it.
Well, I'm just saying, I know that's not specifically saying this is a monster, this is another type of monster.
Yeah, I guess I'm trying to delineate a little bit between how their powers or abilities manifest and the difference between infected and undead, just that specific thing. Like, I think how they manifest is cool, and I think it's interesting, and I think it's organic the way it comes through.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't touch that, but just understanding the undead / infected, what does that mean?
Well, maybe I can have something, like I think the best part or part of the movie to educate the audience is at the fort, because that's where we're first really learning about you know, the infected, you got to kill them twice.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean, I thought that was enough, that, you know, there is a version of these guys that is alive, and there's a version that is dead, that is undead. I thought that was clear in the fourth scene.
How about this? I'll reread it and see if I missed it, but it felt a little more nebulous than you thought, or than you're saying.
No, that's fine. And I'm not saying you're wrong. All I'm saying is, what else can I do except to give instructions to the reader and not be artistic anymore and just say there are two versions, or something? I could say something that's semi-artistic, right? And say it's obvious that there are two levels of this threat.
Yeah,
like just in the description, right?
Yeah, I don't like that at all.
Well, I know you don't like it, but at least it makes sense.
Yeah, I don't think we should treat it like that, because that's fine for the train, you know, for orienting us with the train cars and stuff.
Yeah.
Let me give that one a little more thought, but it was one of the things that I kind of bumped on a little bit.
All right. I mean, I can make the dialogue more pedantic.
Yeah. Well, something to think about. I'll send you my notes afterwards so you can kind of rethink it. Okay. So one of the things that I was thinking about as well was genre, and you know, does the script succeed in terms of genre?
Yeah.
You know, and here we're splicing kind of two genres together, but it's really like Western traditionally is got its elements, and you've got all of them in there, you know, the train, the dusty town, outlaws, and all the cool stuff there, duels, fights. And I felt like, you know, the law is well represented, and I don't know, I felt all the elements of Western were well represented in the movie.
Right.
In terms of zombie, I mean, that's not really a genre, because, you know, you've got comedies that are zombie movies, and thrillers and action. And I felt like this one kind of blended all of them. You know what I mean? Because you've got like some really horrific things that happen in terms of, like, you know, the slaughter of children, you know, and eating of children. And then you've got thrilling things like, you know, that whole scene with Chief. I was just like, you know, I was reading as fast as I could, just because it was like the whole thing was just moving by that third act, you know, it was like really engaged. But then you have, like, as I mentioned in my little write-up here, probably my favorite scene in the movie is Patrick and Plain Jane. I mean, that's just like, just comedy, you know? So I thought that was interesting in terms of the genre, the way you framed the movie. I would say Scam Likely. I would say that
Scam Likely.
You don't know Scam Likely?
No.
Scam Likely?
What the hell is that? Oh.
I was getting a phone call that I have to ignore.
I didn't know your service does that.
Yeah.
I don't get that.
T-Mobile.
I just get this random phone number that it can't, you know, it's like it's from this area code that I would recognize and I'm familiar with, but the prefix is obviously not from that area code, right? And I'm like, okay, this is obviously a spoof number.
Right.
It just pisses me off that, you know, something can't be done programmatically through the cellular service to just like stop that scam call from coming in.
We need to get on board with Arkansas.
Okay, what's going on with Arkansas?
I think yesterday they're trying to pass a law that if people are spoofing, they can be held to a felony if they get back to them.
Whoa. Oh, wow.
That would be great.
That would be great.
Because most of my calls all day are scams.
Oh,
almost everyone.
Yeah. I'll say 90% of my calls. I don't have a lot of friends, people. So it's like, who the hell is calling me? I don't know this person. It's usually a scam. So
if I see a big picture of my wife's face or your face today, it's like the only calls I ever get.
Yeah, exactly. So the only thing that I think about when I think of Arkansas is I remember as a child, you know, this is a 15-second story, everybody. As a child, you know, you're with your parents, you're usually your mom, grocery shopping, and you're standing in line. There's maybe a 30-second story. You're standing in line checking out, and, you know, we didn't really have debit cards back in the 80s. Like, they weren't really that prevalent. if they even existed. I don't know. Anyway, so everyone always paid with a check. Always paying with a check. Do you remember those days, Brian? People paid with checks.
Check, yeah.
God.
You do that at the grocery store.
What?
You do that at the grocery store. You do it. Checks were everywhere.
That's what I mean. Yeah. Now it's like you see someone with a check in front of you, you're just like, oh my God.
Just want to change lanes.
Exactly. Jeez. Remember when you had to you wrote a check and then they'd have to take your information off your credit card?
Oh, yeah.
They'd draw a little grid on the check to make sure they got all the right information. Remember that?
I do.
Do you remember the days of that weird machine? When you paid with a credit card and it had the little carbon copy thing, and
that's what I was going to say.
They were ironing your credit card.
I do.
In the days of retail, man, this is like a lot of 30-second stories compounding into one. But the days of retail, when our machines would go down, we would always bust out the old trusty credit card iron thing. Anyway, so the thing I remember as a child, waiting, you're waiting because people are paying with checks in front of you.
Yeah.
So you read all of the, the paparazzi and whatever is on the stand in line, right? Remember those things? Those the National Enquirer and other magazines?
Of course.
So one popular one.
Globe.
Is the Globe another one? I don't remember. But Weekly World News.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's still around, at least in supermarkets. I think it's still around as a publication. Anyway, so I was reading it one day as a child, and there was an article about how there was a plan in China to get the world off of its orbit around the sun by everyone in China coordinating to jump at the same time, right, and send the planet into the sun. But the reason it failed is because there was a small town in Arkansas that counter jumped at the same time to save the world. Yeah, and
that's
so
awesome.
That's why we're still on. And I was like, that's hilarious. Anyway, right. I think the movie Pay It Forward bit off that story years later, because I think they use that, as like a bit of dialogue.
It sounds right. I mean, the population of Little Rock, Arkansas is roughly equivalent to China.
Absolutely.
So,
even though they're in the same hemisphere,
Jesus.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Okay. The point I was trying to make before we got totally off kilter is that the script sets an interesting tone, in that it's one that I think the reader and the director can take in multiple directions. And I think that's kind of cool, because people tend to read and apply their personality to whatever they read. And so I think it could be kind of a little bit, it could be pretty serious with some comedic relief.
Yeah.
Or it could be a little bit on the zanier side if people really want to play that part up. It really depends on the reader. It'd be really interesting if this thing is bought and made, how it ends up, which lane they pick for it, because it could go in several different ones.
Yeah, totally. Before
you got real quiet.
I thought so. I'm looking at my green bar and I'm like, it's monitoring. Now I'm loud. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Typically, my little monitor is it's always fluctuating, right? Because it's picking up something. Yeah. And then I saw it was at 0, and I'm like, what?
Can you speak consistently, please?
What is happening?
You're just very excitable today.
There. Now it's still monitoring. It's still there. I don't know what's going on, folks. Someone's going to have to... I need a professional to come in here or something and check out my system. Anyway, so just getting back to what you said. So I did include... the zombie genre has evolved in a lot of ways, but I did try to include... I love the zombie genre, right?
Right.
So anytime there's a zombie-esque movie, I watch it. I just love the idea of a zombie apocalypse. I could go into why I like it so much, but that's beside the point. So, when we talk about hey, maybe we should get rid of Ray, right? I'm like, no. Now that I think about it, I'm like, no, we can't, because the George Romero films, who, he is the father of the zombie genre, right? He
Yeah.
always had a black protagonist. And that is essentially one of the main reasons why Ray is in this movie, is to have that representation of that part of zombie movie history. So there we are. And then, other people, if you have the same library of zombie cinema in your brain as I do, like you'll see the different things that I kind of like added, like the whole coin falling in the person's mouth and someone fishing it out. I sent that clip to Brian, so now he knows where that's from.
I want to watch that whole movie.
It's actually not bad.
Looks interesting.
Yeah, it's actually not bad. And what's funny is that it has the movie we're talking about is I think it's a Japanese. Hope it's a Japanese movie called Biohazard, and they're in a mall. Anyway, but what's cool about it is that it has kind of like a little bit of video game flair to it. Like occasionally it will just like cut to one of the characters like spinning, and it has like their stats down the side. Look how loud that was. That was so loud, Brian. What's going on? Trusty microphone. Anyway, what are we doing, Brian? What are we talking about here?
I have notes prepared.
All right. So, yeah, you're right. I think that filmmakers, I think it gives them leeway to kind of take this in a cool direction. I just hope it doesn't break the Western feel, and I hope they still treat it seriously.
Oh, like Back to the Future 3 or something. Just happened to be set back there, but there's really nothing Western about it.
Yeah,
except for
exactly.
the set.
Exactly.
I mean, you've got so many other elements. I mean, unless they just, get rid of them wholesale, I really don't think that that's the way they could do. I don't think they could. It's definitely integrated into the entire script.
Yeah.
So the only comparison I was thinking about was like From Dusk Till Dawn,
right?
Which is a movie that I half adore. I think it's just so fun. I really love that first half, and then I hate the second half. I hate it with a passion.
You hate the vampires.
I hate the vampires because I felt like the movie, the script. I know you're different, but I felt like the whole thing like devolved and kind of collapsed upon itself. Whereas when we got to the zombie portion of this, I felt like everything kept building. I learned more about the characters. I cared more about them, and they're fighting zombies. It's like it's
right.
Cool. It's cooler and it's integrated. Whereas I felt like those two movies, I might have liked From Dusk Till Dawn better if it was two separate movies that were expanded upon, just like the silly second half and the cool first half.
Right.
But the fact that they mashed them together, it didn't work for me, and that's why I had such a problem with it. Whereas this one feels like it's integrated really well.
You know what I think the problem is with From Dusk Till Dawn? Because I totally agree. And, I think reviewers at the time when it came out said as much, that it feels like two different movies in one movie. Whereas what I think I did here, the zombiness, the zombie thing, it happens earlier within the arc of the movie. And so these people can grow together. Like we can, as an audience, we can watch them and learn about them through the zombie thing, rather than we learn about them and okay, these are these people. Oh, and now there's this weird thing from left field that they got to deal with together.
Right.
So I think that's why it feels a little more natural.
Oh, it definitely does.
Yeah.
So good on you for that.
Thanks, man.
Just a couple more notes. In terms of the setting. So this is my other like kind of large note, although I think it's fairly easy to fix. One thing I think that would be helpful is to better orient the reader and the viewer with the town of Epitaph.
Yeah.
How it's actually laid out.
Right.
Like the first time we arrive, because right now, if I remember correctly, it's kind of revealed through the perspective of several characters.
Sure.
But there's never like an establishing shot that tells me here's the town, here's the layout, here's the outpost. And I think just getting that grounding element early on would be really helpful to the readers.
Okay. You're absolutely right. My concern is I would do that early, I can easily put that in where Long and Bao they've arrived at the town, they look at it, and I can just add description saying this is there, this is there, this is there. I'm worried that the reader won't really remember that, right? And we did kind of joke in a couple episodes ago about like writing a whole new character, like the town mayor, who just talks about like, and we have the doctor's office over in that quadrant or whatever, right? And this is how people just know where things are. And
yeah, I guess the two things
throughout the movie.
Wow, your audio is challenging today.
Yes. Now I'm
sorry,
loud.
buddy. I don't think you're going to be super happy with your audio in this one.
Oh well. Here's what I'll do. I'll add a leveler that just levels the audio quality.
Sorry, buddy. I guess the two things that kind of I had issues were like I didn't have any problem with the bar or the what are we calling it? The whorehouse. What else to call it?
Okay.
Or like the area where they get their ammo, or the jail, or the doctors, Mortimers, or anything like that. I didn't really have too many issues with that. I had issues with understanding the size of the town that I was looking at. Like what am I looking at? Is this a street? Is this a larger, Western town? Number one,
right.
But more importantly was the outpost and where it was, and it's mentioned here, and I have a note when you get to the actual script. I have a note that kind of maybe draws a little bit more attention to it because it's so important later that I had to go back. I literally did a search for outpost, and there's a large gap between, when it was first talked about and when it becomes a salient part of the script.
Right.
And I think we need to just kind of play that up a little bit more, that the outpost is an important geographical element within the script.
Okay.
More than anything else.
I can fix that. So when the soldiers are at Doc's office, they can, we can have some dialogue. Maybe they can even step outside and point at the outposts, in the distance.
We're never going to make it that far. We're going to lose our man before we get there.
No, I mean, the outpost is in town. Right?
We're going to get there, no problem.
Yeah. No, they can just point at it, just so I can have some description and say, he, Doc can say, where did you find him again? Right? Oh, he was in tower number 3 or something. I don't know. No? Not working for you, Brian?
Yeah, whatever you want to do. I just think it's an easy fix.
Okay.
For this one.
That's fine. I can do that.
Okay.
All right, so let me just get this straight. Mm-hmm. Other than the outpost, so the outpost, because it's an important fixture, we need to, have something that helps anchor that in the reader's mind.
Yeah.
What about the other, like Doc's place or the prison or Wells Green Bank?
I think they're fine. I really didn't have an issue with that. I don't think you have to go through that level of exposition. I think just the fact that they're moving around, you can leave that to reader and director, and that's not, to me. It's like you've got a city.
Yeah.
A small city, a small town.
Right.
And of course they're all going to be next to each other.
Yeah.
Right. It's just natural, right? That's the center of town, and people are going to be living around that and in the outskirts. I just didn't understand where the outpost was with relation to the center of town, because I know they were seeing things from the outpost and running to the outpost, but I just was trying to orient myself with that one.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Okay. So last thing I have to say on this, kind of my conclusion to this whole thing. So ultimately, I think the script comes down to one thing, because of the world that we live in, and that's, can it be sold? So this is the question of art and commerce together.
Yeah.
I feel that the script as written is already sellable and in good shape.
Yeah.
So I think there's a little bit of fine tuning that needs to be done, but it's relatively small. And I think that this is a winner, man. I really like the script a lot overall.
Thanks.
Really happy with it.
Yeah. Thanks. And I appreciate that. I am also happy with it. And I think it has commercial appeal. as you know, I have some contacts within Hollywood, and some of these people have read some scripts. One of them, who is a working actress, I sent her my romantic dramedy script.
Yeah.
And she is concerned with the page count. And I always, as is evidenced by this project, it's always a challenge to keep it under 120 pages for me.
Yeah.
Because I just want to tell big stories and complex stories. And her concern is that I should aim for 90 pages, because the first thing that turns off filmmakers are scripts that are too long. This is one person's opinion, mind you, but this is as a person who is a working actress within Hollywood. That opinion carries a lot of water with me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm concerned.
I think there's validity to what she's saying with a romance, because I kind of go into those thinking it's going to be an 1.5-hour movie.
Yeah.
But not if I'm going into a movie like this. I don't. So I would have to think that there's some leeway for different types of movies. Like actually any comedy, I would usually expect it to be about an 1.5 hours, because you want it to be kind of tight and fun and get through it.
Yeah.
Stop that.
I don't want it to freaking clip.
Are we doing it?
Dude, what the heck is wrong with
Welcome to Epitaph ASMR.
This is ridiculous, bro.
Let's ASMR this movie.
Well, if I talk loudly, it will begin to even out. So freaking weird, bro.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Haunted apartment.
I don't know, man. What was the ghost in Angel? What was it? Steve? Something like that? Steve?
Oh no, was it Skip? No, Skip is later. You didn't get to Skip.
Oh, alas.
So much emotion. Such true loss. Dude, there are zombies in that show sometimes.
God damn it. Let's get back in. Let's get back in there, man. I must complete the canon of zombie culture.
Only 4 more years to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Only made it through 1.
It doesn't matter. Sorry, everybody, for clipping throughout this. I don't know what's wrong. I really do need to get this thing fixed, though. Okay. Well, Brian, I don't know what else to say here. I mean,
I feel like my comment fell on deaf ears because you were distracted by your audio. But I think that 90 minutes is fine for certain types of movies.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I don't feel like that's going to be an issue for this type of movie. I really don't.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, I'm not in the business, but I don't think it's impractical to go to a movie like this one and expect a 2-hour movie.
So, I agree with you. Don't get me wrong. The concern I have is, will someone read this to know, hey, this needs to be 120 pages, because look at all the stuff that's happening, which is all necessary, right? I'm afraid that a reader is going to pick it up and flip to the end and be like, oh, God, 120 pages. Slush pile.
All I can say is what I've heard from other people talking about this kind of stuff.
Okay.
And that is that readers will absolutely go to the end and see how long it is. And if it's 123, it'll go in the slush pile.
Okay.
And if it's 120, they'll read it.
John August.
A few other ones.
Oh, okay.
But so I've heard it like corroborated, but again, it's not through anything I know specifically.
Yeah. No, totally. All right. Well, that's fine. You know what? If I'm going to sell a movie, it's got to be on my terms, I guess. Right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And look, I want to tell big stories and long stories and complex stories. So that's going to be me. That's going to be my niche, right?
Yes.
All right. Okay. Well, Brian, I think you've given me actionable notes.
Okay. There wasn't that much. I felt like, I mean, other than all the little things I wrote in here, you know, from a larger standpoint,
Yeah.
I think we're in really good shape. I think you're right that doing it the way we've been doing it, I really do think that it gave it a level of polish that would not necessarily be here. So I think that was beneficial.
I totally agree. And so I don't feel so bad that it took 6 months to write this quote unquote first draft.
Right. It's like the fourth draft.
That's what I mean. I think it's pretty tight.
Yeah.
As you say, got to go over the dialogue and polish. I can totally see that. I got to fix some grammatical things, which I'm sure you caught.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think there was one section of notes that just didn't get to or something, because I'm like, I already talked about this stuff, and it was actual like grammar and stuff. So I think it maybe got lost in the shuffle a little bit.
Is it towards the end?
It's like 3/4 through.
Okay. It might have been, I was just so excited to write the next 10 pages. Like, I'll look at notes later, or maybe you didn't send me the notes, or I don't know.
It's all right. It's little stuff. So should we switch over to the actual script? How do you want to do this?
Are we still doing that?
Do you not want to?
Well, I'm just saying, do we need to? I feel like you've given me...
Oh, perfect. If you don't want to share it with the peeps. The other stuff is not really... I mean, I guess the only thing I would say is if you have actual questions on what I wrote...
Well, I mean, we can go tit for tat, but I just feel like... I don't know that that's really necessarily interesting to an audience.
Why don't we read quietly to ourselves and let people watch us read?
Yeah?
Yeah. I'm on page 4. Where are you?
Here's the thing. I did read a couple of things, and I was like, I mean, am I going to really argue with Brian over whether or not a goatee includes a mustache? I don't know. A goatee does not necessarily include a mustache, Brian. Just FYI. See, this would be a 5-hour show if we just sighed at each other. Huh? What's that?
That's what I was expecting.
5 hours? Jesus.
No, but it's just that you're wrong.
All right. Well, I just looked it up before we jumped on here because I was like, all right, let's look up goatee. It's all good, bro. It's all good.
All right, it's fine. I guess the only thing is if there were like actual questions that you had based on what I wrote, because usually this is where we go into that stuff. So you can just do it. We can do it off air, or maybe it kind of is fully understandable without me even talking to you about it.
God. So I have the script up and I'm just kind of like flipping through it.
Yeah.
Some things here, like I said, I only got through a few of the pages, but I for some reason I thought they were clearer. Like, for instance, the pleading eyes of the other passengers on page 3.
Yeah.
I thought, that would be clear that they didn't want to be robbed, and so they were hoping there would be a hero to stand up to Long, and that the other men who, after Jimmy mentions there's a bounty, that the imagery was clear, that people were seeing like, oh, this guy already has his gun out. So
pleading,
take him.
Pleading eyes could be interpreted though as literally like, please don't do what you're about to do.
Sure.
Or it could be like, come on, man, you got this. Like, get it done. And I just don't think that comes clear, other than the fact of what happens.
Right.
These are little things, man.
No, I get it, and that's the thing. It would take us a long time, especially if it's like we get, in a little, like, we get hooked on something.
Us? Never.
That's what I'm saying.
All right, let me just kind of skim through it real quick. On page 6, this is the
right.
The outpost thing I was talking about.
Jeez, it's a big note.
Yeah, but it's
more red than black on this page.
It has to fit in a margin. And I was doing this on a phone and then an iPad. You see how every page has a red thing on the top right? A little bookmark on it?
Not on this PDF.
You don't have like a big red mark on the top right? No. I had to mark each page as like, I basically marked it as complete. Then I'd save it. Then I'd come back and open it after a while because I was getting so annoyed with having to rewrite notes over and over.
Now Tom is doubting.
Oh, you're on 7.
Yeah, I think he should doubt in the previous line as well. I thought you were being cute.
Well, I ended up being cute, but it wasn't intentional at first.
I see.
All right. Well, anyway, on 6 there was the question about, or the suggestion about the outpost.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, so the doors. I did mention a couple of notes about the doors just to make sure it's really clear how these doors are going to function.
Yeah.
There's some suggestions on 8 about Zeke. You know, I don't know if you want to actually have them married, Zeke and Sally. It's a thought, you know, just to kind of draw them together as a couple, like a little bit more clearly.
And she needs a last name.
Why do either of them need a last name?
To give them, you know, a little more substance to the actor.
Okay. It's fine.
Everett James. You know, that sounds, you know, very manly and commanding. No?
It's fine.
All right.
It's a choice. It's not a big deal to me.
This is how people talk. Nice.
Yeah. That I didn't love so much.
They need dialogue. You know, they got to say each other's names.
Listen, this is after coming off of your discussion with me about my project.
Oh.
And I was like, yeah, he's telling me something, but they wouldn't actually say that to each other. I'm trying to be more critical about that.
Oh.
We've just been digging for so long.
Well, I hear you. Here's the thing. What you have said has merit, obviously. But these are characters who don't get a lot of like screen time. Like,
I know.
You know,
We
you
dig
gotta.
and dig and dig all day long. I'm so freaking sick of digging.
That's what I'm saying.
So-
But you know how
just
many
something.
lines that is?
Dig all day long. All we do is dig. About the same.
No.
Yeah.
You write that out, man. You're gonna get 2 lines for Bill.
You've got half a page on 120. And I have some stuff to kill.
I hear you. Here's the thing. I thought that too. I was like, look at all this. I can add so much stuff.
Right.
Anyway.
Bumps it all the way down. Everything bumps everything. I get it.
Exactly.
I know. You've got like that page, really. You got to stay within that page.
I know. It sucks, bro.
I understand.
All right.
A little suggestion on Mortimer.
Okay.
On 13. Did you see that?
Oh, no, I haven't scrolled.
Yeah. I mean, just the... I like the idea of his last name.
Yeah.
Excuse me, what it means, and that there's a sign about it, but I don't think people will equate that with Mortimer. Is there like a chance just to give him a nickname instead of Mortimer that plays off of his last name? I know it's more of an in joke.
Yeah.
People, or reference, I should say, that people may or may not get, but I thought it was an interesting thing once I learned more about it. So I don't know if there's any merit to that or not. Something to think about.
Can his nickname be a play on his last name instead, so people can get the joke? I'm unclear on what you want exactly.
Instead of being called Mortimer, you know, maybe I don't know what Cherry. It could be something. Just is there something that could play off of the last name?
Well, he doesn't have to be called Mortimer. He can just be called Mr. Caron.
Mm-hmm.
No one will get that though, at all.
You don't think so? No.
No.
All right, it's not a big deal. That's a small deal.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I'm hoping people will get the fact that he's named Mortimer, Mort.
Yeah.
You know, which is also
Maybe.
death.
Yeah. maybe. But if not,
Here's the thing, Brian. I write to, so that the audience has to elevate themselves to my level. I don't write down. I don't write down. They have to come up.
Okay. Hold on. Let me go back to something that you just said. We've just been digging for so long. Yeah, they've been digging for so long.
Been digging, Brian. They've been digging.
I can dig it.
All right. Well, look, I feel like we're just like aimlessly hacking at the forest here with dull machetes. So why don't I just read these notes and digest them? Oh, is that you? Is that me? That's me.
That's you. That's you. You're blowing up. You have friends.
No, I have work requests, most likely. And then, yeah, let's meet again. But for now, let's talk about next steps.
Please.
I know we talked about, getting people to read. I don't know if I'm really feeling that anymore.
Okay.
How about you? Do you think we need to actually have a live reading of this?
I was supporting it. It was your thing that you wanted to do. So
well,
I can kind of go either way.
So I do want there to be a reading eventually. So not so much for the reading itself, but so that I have audio that I can attach to an animatic, right? Because I think at the end of the day, let's be realistic here. That is hello.
Stop.
Check.
Stop.
Jesus.
Stop.
Why is it? It's picking me up from like forever away. Look at this.
It's adjusting to you.
Look at this. Look at this insanity. I can talk from here, and it's fine. Wow.
This is a great show.
What is happening? Look at that. Anyway, yeah, because at the end of the day, I think really, something self-produced is as far as this is ever going to see the light of day of being something professionally done. That's why I wanted an audio thing attached. Right. I don't necessarily care about people reading it. It's like, okay, I know how it sounds in my head, and however people are going to read this will never reach that.
Because you acted every part and you know it.
Well,
it's already
yeah,
awesome.
I guess. Yeah, sure.
So when I hear animatic and things like that, and that being kind of like the end of the line for the script.
Yeah.
I don't know how practical where my head is. I don't know how practical this idea is, but to me, I think it would be interesting if you're able to pick a scene, for example, something that you felt was self-contained enough that got the spirit of the script across without giving away too much of the actual plot,
right?
But got that tone there correctly. That was read and acted correctly in a way that you were happy with, by yourself or guest voice actors, and put to an animatic and used as a tool to try and help sell the script rather than being an end unto itself. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to give you, here's the script, put it out there, but also here's a link to a YouTube page, where you can watch one of these scenes, as envisioned by the writer.
Yeah.
I think that'd be really sweet. I don't know if that's something that's typically done, but I think that would kind of give you an edge up.
All right, let's do that. Let's forget the feature length animatic, and just go with 8 minutes of the movie.
Well, okay, so that's the other side. So if the 8-minute version got a lot of traction, but you're not selling the script, then we do a GoFundMe type of thing to animate the entire thing. If there's enough call for it, so we can kind of go two different directions then. Yeah,
no, I like this. This makes more sense to me. I mean, it's a little more manageable of a project too. I can only imagine how much it would cost to hire an artist, a digital artist, to actually like draw all this cool stuff and then find an animator to then animate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's do that. So that is the long-term goal, let's say. The short-term, what I really want to do is enter this in a couple of screenplay contests.
Totally.
So there we are.
So are there any upcoming that you have your eye on?
Well, there's a couple of horror ones that, yeah,
It's interesting. I mean, do you enter as a horror? Do you enter it as a Western? I mean, I imagine that everything's along genre lines. Is that correct?
Yeah. I have never seen a Western.
Right. Not allowed to call for that.
Haven't seen it, but maybe it's out there. Who knows?
Interesting. So they're coming up. Do you know of specific ones?
I think I just missed the horror one. But it'll come up again next year, so it's not a big deal.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the horror one is closer to like October.
Do you have any traditional do you have any plans to put this out in a traditional way? Just sending it out to to different, I don't know if you send it to agencies or do you send it to directly to studios?
No, unfortunately you can't do either of those.
So what are your options then?
So the other option, if I'm not going to send this into or put this into a competition, is to essentially pitch the idea and do like a 2-page write-up, written pitch about the script, and then get some feedback from the exec, who can then pretend to have read it, and then tell me no, pass.
Does doing that preclude you from entering into contests?
No.
Is that something you just don't want to do?
I will probably do that as well, but it's not like these services are free. It's not like execs are just like, yeah, everybody in the world, just send me your 2 pages. And, you got to like schedule the time. You got to pay a certain amount of money because it's going through a service. And then you have no idea if like, if the exec is actually going to give it its due consideration. I mean, I've had execs criticize, rather than criticize the idea and say, it's just not an idea for us. Mm-hmm. They've criticized how it was pitched. And it's like, okay, I feel like they're just responding with something because they have to respond with something. Mm-hmm. And it just seems stupid to me because it's like, if someone told you a good idea but didn't present it in the best way, but you thought, wow, this is something that could sell, you would still buy it and you would still run with the idea, right? Like you don't, you don't turn an idea down because a guy stuttered during the presentation.
Right.
If an idea is good, the idea is good. I mean, it's not like you're going to learn every facet of an idea in 2 pages or the 5 minutes that this person gets to talk to you. So anyway, I don't know, man. To me, it's, it's all a crapshoot.
Yeah, I understand that. And I mean, this is where my ignorance of how the situation works is coming through, because I'm not sure. I mean, I thought that you could submit this to multiple places. I didn't realize you have to pay for notes and all that stuff or for feedback.
Yeah.
There's really nowhere just to send a script in for consideration anymore.
No, I don't know that you could ever send a script in for consideration, A, for free, B, in its entirety, mainly because the people who get the script, there's a certain amount of liability that they want to stay away from, because if, let's say, they're working on a zombie script, and for a fact that you sent them, you can prove that you sent them a zombie script that's set in the Old West, and then you see that, they made this movie that's similar to yours. Now they've opened up themselves to a lawsuit, because now I can say, well, I sent so-and-so this script, and now they made this movie. It's very similar to mine. So
interesting.
Yeah. And I learned that from John August, by the way.
Who?
I know, just some guy.
Hey man, I don't look at what he says as gospel because they're in a different world right now. But and I'm sure things have changed quite a bit as well.
Yeah, I mean, I read that in 2004-ish on his blog, and it made sense to me. I'm like, okay, I mean, there are places that I can send the script to and get feedback from other writers, but what's that going to really do for me?
It's like an echo chamber. Yeah, I don't.
Well, yeah, and it's like you get people who, they should not be screenwriters, and you're relying on them to give you feedback. Like, great, right. I should, you could give the script to a bunch of kindergartners and get the same amount of useful feedback. And then you have people who aren't necessarily bad screenwriters, but they just want to trash your work because it makes them feel better. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, bro. I mean, I wish I didn't have to go through services where you have to pay to get time with people who might be able to do something for your career. Unfortunately, I don't know what else to do. I mean, back in the day, there was this idea that you could, because the Writers Guild of America, I don't know if they still have it published, but they had a list of all of these agencies, right? Screenwriter agencies, and with their addresses and stuff. And so there was this, I don't know if they still do this, but there was this concept of query letters where you would query this agency with your idea and find out if they were interested in, receiving your script.
Oh, okay.
So I did that. I didn't tell you this story, Brian?
No.
Oh. So in the early 2000s, when I was like really hell-bent on becoming a screenwriter, thinking, I'm going to be the guy who queries everybody, and one of these people has to, check me out, right?
Right.
So, you wrote a page or 2 pages talking about your script. You included a self-addressed stamped envelope, a SACE, as we called it back then, a SACE.
What's an envelope?
I know, exactly, right? And then they would send you a rejection letter with your self-addressed stamped envelope. And so that's what I got. I just got, all these rejection letters from every single agency or manager. And I used to pin them on the walls of my tiny 400 square foot studio apartment.
That's healthy.
Yeah. And they most of them had it down to a science, had the rejection down to a science, where they would print out like 6 rejections on one piece of paper and have it perforated so they could just tear off a rejection and put it in your envelope and send it back to you. The bigger agencies would send you something more professional with like letterhead and say like, we did not open your letter, because basically to prevent any chance of receiving, an idea from you.
Wow.
So that you couldn't sue them later.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway.
Animatic
it is. Do it yourself. Yeah, bro.
Wow. So, okay. So then let's actually, because you said the animatic's more of a long term. So short term is to find some places to enter the script.
Yeah. And lose.
You did really well in the last one.
Yeah, but it's it's the lottery, bro. What can I say?
Got to keep playing.
Yeah, that's that's really it, right? These contests are not cheap.
Woke.
Huh? Woke?
You remember? Re-entered as woke. Probably would have won.
No, I don't remember that joke.
It went from wake to woke because we were in a woke era, and then it went to swoke. We were swole and woke together.
I remember the evolution of the joke. I didn't know we were going to apply it to the script.
So, so they cost dough to get in.
Yeah, they do.
Well, the animatic's going to cost dough too, right?
Well, yeah, but I would have control over that, right? Like I would know, there was a goal that a definitive goal that if I just spent enough time on it, I would get there. I would have a finished product. Whereas this, it's just like throwing money down a well,
Right.
Hopefully, wherever the money drifts to will lead somewhere and it's going to come back to me. It's like, who wants that?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it is like playing the lotto. And, I do play the lottery. And it's not because I think I'm going to win necessarily. It's what I'm paying for is the joy of possibility. And I think that's what a lot of people are doing when they, enter screenwriting contests and, they pay exorbitant amount of, I mean, it's not really exorbitant, but, it's not cheap either, right? It's, you're giving yourself a little dream. Now, you're giving someone else a dream to crush, which is usually what happens. But for between, the time between you spend the money and the crushing, that's something that you can kind of like look forward to,
Yeah.
Without paying the money, it's a dream that will never be fulfilled, right? At least here, you've created a little pocket of possibility, little bubble for someone to burst. You know what I mean? Anyway, Brian, I feel like we're dragging this out. What else we have to talk about here?
That's it, man. Yeah, I think we're good.
All right, bro. Well, let me just say, this has been a hell of a ride. And thank you very much for being part of this journey. Now, when I think about it, and I really haven't thought about it until just now, this script would not exist had it not been for this project, and this project would not exist had it not been for you being part of it. So, thanks for all of the effort and the dedication. Yeah, I don't know what else to say.
Well,
it's it's been a good time.
No thanks are necessary. It's been my pleasure. And,
I take it all back. Take it all back then, Brian.
I think this script did exist in your head already. This is one that you kind of had a lot of ideas about before you went in. I know, a lot of things kind of played out differently, but I'm guessing that the major beats are still there. Your major set pieces are still there. So, maybe you wouldn't have written it. I don't know. But I'm glad you did, because I think it's really cool. And, the idea that I mentioned at the very beginning is like, if you can convince me to watch a Western zombie movie, that's quite a feat, and here I am excited about this. I think it's really fun. And, I think this would be a great filmed movie. I really do. I think this would be really dynamic. So good job on that, because you could have just, you could just mailed it in, I think this is a great effort actually on your part. So I'm hoping that, one of the two avenues that we go down, whether it's entering into competitions or doing this other one, it's a little bit more, I guess, current. I don't know. I don't know how many people are actually doing what we're talking about in terms of the cinematic, but I'm hoping that something evolves from it. I think the animatic can be really cool too. I'm sure you're already picturing scenes or, the style in your head. So I have a feeling it could be really fun to bring something like this to life as well. So I've loved the project. It's when you mentioned the other day that it had been like 6 months since we started, I was surprised. It felt like maybe 3,
right,
to me, not 6. So I was like, okay, that's cool. Super happy to be part of this. I think this is awesome. And anytime you can finish a project and have something in hand,
right.
There is a satisfaction that comes just from that alone. Like it's really kind of a fulfilling piece. So I think that you're already, this is what you'll see from my notes that they're minimal. I think that, a few days with this and you've got this thing dialed in already. So I guess we should probably start, or we should probably talk about like what our next step is going to be on the show at this point.
Okay.
I don't know if we actually go through the script again. I don't think there's any real point in that. You know what I mean? I think it's kind of, unless you change something dramatic, but I think otherwise it's a done script, in terms of the show.
I agree. I actually don't know what to do next.
And maybe we'll take that off the air, huh?
Well, what's it going to be? I have no idea. What are we going to talk about?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think we go to season 2 just yet, because I think we have some things we want to get done with this, and maybe we take that process, as make that process part of the show. So if you're going to do the an animatic as an example, or you're going to enter it, if you feel like there's something we can share or talk about each week, we can do that.
All right. Let's see. Hang on. Next week, that's going to push us into. We're going to say next. It's going to be Saturday, right? So the 6th.
Where is my calendar in this computer?
All right. What kind of computer, Brian?
This is a Mac. I don't usually use the calendar on it, though.
Oh. Okay, well, it's the 6th.
I got it.
So it's a week and a half away. I do have some people reading the script. Maybe they'll have some feedback. I can send that to you, and we can discuss that. And maybe we'll have like a more solid idea of what to do next. Maybe we can like look up upcoming screenplay competitions we can send this into. I could also look into getting some professional coverage, just like see what a professional reader thinks. That's something we can talk about. Yeah, because I don't think we need to go through 120 pages of like notes. I think that's going to be too much to do. Yeah,
I agree with you. I think that's good. I think that we'll have plenty to at least talk about on the 6th.
Yeah.
So let's plan on a show there.
Okay.
And then we'll kind of, offline, we can talk about next steps and kind of map out the next month or so.
All right. Perfect.
Cool.
Let's do that. I don't think I'm going to do any plugging today, Brian.
All right.
But if you enjoyed the show, and I know you did.
I did.
Brian did. Brian does every time. Every week.
I always do.
Please give us a like and a subscribe. And
tell a damn friend. You've got friends. Tell some friends.
Yes, at least
tell
one
them
friend.
Subscribe. Tell one friend.
That is your homework.
If you tell a friend, I'll give you $1.
No.
Send me a sass.
No, Brian will not give you $1. But
I'll give you a perforated sheet bag. Sorry, we do not submit. We do not accept financial donations.
So before we go, here's a 1-minute story. Towards the end of my querying, I became very cynical about the whole process.
Wait a second. Hold on, just so I understand. I want to make sure I set the stage right.
Right.
So you got a big pile of rejections, and you posted them all over your room, and you got cynical?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's a tough one to believe.
Well, wait a second. The posting around the room was meant to be motivational, Brian.
Okay.
Stephen King, he... I'm probably going to butcher this story, but I think he said something like, he got a nail, and he would hang all of his rejection letters on that, right? And I'm assuming without the envelope, so just the one sheet rejection letter. And he said that the nail was almost completely swallowed up by rejection letters. So it was like this thick of rejection letters before he finally got signed, right? Okay. So I thought, all right, I'm going to do something similar, right? Okay. So, I had like a wallpaper everywhere of just rejection letters just staring down at me, reminding me of the failure that I am and how no one wants me. And so I started to get a little cynical. And here's the thing. Look at me, Brian. Look at me. I'm a man who's used to rejection. Okay, so the thing that bothers me, it's not that the rejection itself is necessarily bad. So I can't expect everyone to like me or see value in me or whatever. The thing that I need is feedback. How can I improve? Give me that, right? That's all I ask.
Yeah.
But no one ever wants to give you feedback. I don't know why. So what I would include in my queries are I began including a little survey with like possible options for why they were rejecting me.
Yeah.
And only two literary agencies filled it out.
Wow. Surprised anyone did.
I know. I was impressed. Yeah.
Did you learn anything from the surveys, or is it just
one
kind of funny?
said that they just weren't taking new clients.
Ah, sweet.
So I was like, okay.
We already have all the good ideas.
Yeah, exactly. I can't remember what the other one was.
BS.
Yeah. But I did include a checkbox about, do you like this survey? Do you find this survey useful? And this person checked it off. It's like, this is awesome. I'm like, oh, okay. Maybe I've just created a whole new like process here. But anyway, yeah. So I stopped doing that.
Were you going anywhere else with this story?
No, that's it. Why are we talking about query letters, Brian?
I don't know.
There was something that sparked me in that,
I'm so lost right now.
Telling a friend.
Yes, we were saying make sure you tell a friend to like us.
Right. There must have been something that bridged. I'm going to play this back and be like, that's why I brought up the story.
Okay, well, there's your blog post.
Wow. Am I just losing my brain? Is my mind gone? I just like, I have to tell you this story. It's unrelated.
That's awesome that we got it on tape.
Okay.
The moment René lost it.
Exactly. All right.
30-second story.
Just having a stroke. Just having a stroke, folks.
Me laughing about it. Good times.
Uh-huh.
The guy couldn't speak that one time, laughing about it. Oh, geez.
All right. Well, then, let's wrap it up
movie?
here, Brian. We're going to see you next week, everybody.
On Let's Write This Movie. Until then.
Goodbye.
Peace.
Sorry about the audio.
Sorry. The audio.
Sorry about Brian. Okay. We're live.
Whoa. Wow. That was an intro. I'll tell you something.
Oh, was it really loud, Brian?
No, I'm talking about the intro that just preceded us from going live.
Oh.
Wow. Really well done. That was something unique.
Yes.
That I haven't come up with yet. That's cool.
Oh. What are we doing, Brian?
Do you want to start over again?
We're going to start now.
Wow. Dude, what an intro. Wow.
Oh, that's right.
Oh,
okay.
That is right.
We're going to start again, Brian.
Wait, should you snap?
What? No. Why do we need to do that?
I just feel like we're not aligned yet. They used to align us before.
No, we're good.
All right.